to join. Thank you. And before I start, I'd like to introduce ourselves. First, I am Andy Kendall. I am the coordinator of the technical support team for the GNC Technical Alliance, and joined by Anna. Anna, could you introduce yourself briefly?
Hi, everybody. My name is Anna. I am the deputy GNC coordinator.
And we have Ben. Ben, do you want to introduce yourself? Ben is behind the scenes today supporting.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Ben Allen, the Deputy Coordinator for the Technical Support Team of the GNC Technical Alliance. Nice to be here.
Great. Thanks, everyone. So today as I've already said, for those just entering, we are recording the event, and it's something that should have asked if you are okay with that. And today, as we go into our discussion on capacity development, stepping back to look forward, we won't have a lot of time to answer questions, but do please put them into the chat box as we go through so that we can answer any of your questions later. If we can answer them with the people on the call today between the different working group facilitators, then we will do so in writing. But if we don't get to today, don't worry, we will do so after. Okay. Now, looking at what we have in store for us today, here is the agenda. First, we're going to have a presentation that Anna will do for us of the current capacity development efforts in the GNC. We'll take about 15 minutes for that. Mostly that will be Anna, and I have a little bit that I'll say as well, based on the meeting last week. After that, we will have about 20 minutes of group work, which we'll talk about just before we go into it, on the key milestones for the GNC Capacity Development Framework for NIE, coordination, and information management. And finally, we're going to have 5 groups that we will discuss with, and then we will have plenary feedback from each of them. So that's 3 minutes each, so super fast, and we'll talk about next steps. And that's it. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to you, Anna.
Thank you very much. Next slide. So I will quickly talk about current capacity development efforts in the GNC. Next slide, please. Just to give you an overview about what is currently happening that will support your discussions during the group work. So the basis of everything what we are doing and planning to do is development of the 3 competency framework, which we have already finalized. So we do have competency frameworks for cluster coordination, information management, and nutrition in humanitarian contexts, which all provides behaviors and competencies that people need to have for different levels of jobs in those areas. Next slide, please. Based on this, we have developed at the end of 2019 GNC Capacity Development Framework. I will very quickly talk about this framework, just so you have an understanding on what has been done currently, on what has been done and what we are doing currently, again, to facilitate your group work discussion. So as you see, the framework consists of the 4 different levels, and it starts with a more generic first 2 levels, which are targeted to as many participants and people as possible. And then the latest 2 levels are individual learning and capacity development one-on-one in order for people to graduate to the next level in their jobs and in their knowledge, skills, and behaviors. So I will, during this presentation, explain very briefly the first 2 steps, because this is what we are currently focusing on. And then the steps on the 3 and 4, which are one-on-one learning, I will explain in the group, because in one of the groups, because we will be looking at the need to revise the competency framework. So that would be much more relevant for that group rather than to all of you. So the first, can we have next slide, please? The first group, the first level, is an introductory level. And currently, it's developed for coordination and information management. As such, it's only very limited component of capacity development on nutrition and emergencies. So currently what we are doing is that every coordination team member who gets recruited at national level immediately gets an online orientation by our help desk, IMOR, or cluster coordination help desk, our technical help desk. And we do have specific checklists which actually lists everything that they need to be doing and what are the good practices in each of those tasks. Now, for the partners, we have developed a country-specific welcome package, well, a generic welcome package, which country adapted to make it a country-specific welcome package that explains overall what is cluster coordination, what is the role of the partners, what is the role of the coordinators, what they can expect, what they should be participating in, and give links to the key documents for each of the for this cluster or sector. And it's also accompanied by 90 minutes presentation, which we use to orient new partners. It's also shared with the national cluster coordinators who, when they have a big number of new partners, conduct these orientations. Again, everything, even for the partners, it's focused more on the coordination and information management and working together rather than specific NIE competencies, something that we would discuss today in more details. So after this level, the level 2, can we move to the next slide, Ben, please? The level 2 is focusing on the e-learning platform, something that we have progressed significantly with in the past few months, and we are still working to improve it further. We have already developed a lot of training materials on coordination and information management. And from the GNC website, everybody can access these materials without any registration and learn self-paced pace. Now, we are also currently working on the development of the actually e-learning platform together with other UNICEF-led clusters. And in this platform, there will be additional functionalities. For example, you would be able to assess yourself against different competencies at different levels. So, for example, subnational cluster coordination or national information management officer. You can also request optional evaluation by your supervisor to narrow down and to have an extra view on what your competencies are. And based on this, you would get a report of recommended learnings, followed by online tests on all the competencies, whether you will see whether you need further learning. And if you don't need any learning, then you can proceed to the evaluation. We plan to have something like a light 360 evaluation from different partners and your line manager with whom you work very much in the country. So that's currently ongoing, and we are piloting the platform in the next few months, and we should have a functioning platform by the end of the year. Again, currently it's focusing on coordination and information management and based on all the competencies, but potentially we are also looking at nutrition and emergency trainings can be included in this if needed. Next slide, please. So as I said, we have already developed a number of online training materials. We have focused on functional competencies, which are those competencies that needed for the roles of coordinators and information management specifically. And we developed about 150 one-hour modules for capacity development. And we are now looking at different sectorial competencies, basically sectorial and soft competencies, to also develop additional learning. So we're not only focusing on the, let's say, technical or functional part of it, but more on building a person who actually have all the skills which are necessary. And as I said, it's already available from the GNC website. Next slide, please. Now we have, next slide. We have had a lot of discussion about this during the GNC annual meeting last week on what we should do in general for the sector. Andy, previous slide.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Anna. Okay, so last week we have, I think all of you who are here today have participated in last week's meeting. There was one working group that was on HR and resources. So what we were looking at was, one, do we have the right people for the right roles? Do those people have the right skills? And do we retain talent? How do we retain talent and avoid gaps? So we wanted to just run through the first little bubble is the NIE competency framework. This is something that's actually been done during the past months. Actually, it was finalized several months back and is now available for us. And right now there's a mapping being done to be able to highlight kind of where do we have trainings that exist and where do we not, according to each of those competencies. So during last week's work, during the working group sessions, some of the solutions that we found for those key challenges that you see up above in the arrows, one of the things was to develop a suggested NIE HR structure, kind of the key roles at all levels, given different contexts, different situations. It's a suggested idea to help countries, organizations on the ground to understand what would be expected given that type of situation, where what we would hope that they would have in terms of nutrition, human resources. With that suggested structure, we also wanted to pull out what are standard job descriptions for key INAE related roles at all different levels, something to make it so that they're across the sector, we can standardize a bit better so that there's a better understanding of what do we expect of somebody in a certain position. So for example, whether it's a frontline worker or whether it's a head of a health center that has nutrition programming, for example, how they would incorporate things into the job description for nutrition. After that, there's an aspect of doing a capacity mapping at a country level. And it's something we're suggesting to be done on an annual basis, looking at those key roles that we establish that we see are really important, to really see that countries are looking to see what resources they have within their country, who's been trained, who hasn't, who should be, what trainings have they had, etc. This kind of thing. And finally, there's two more, is looking at a minimum package of online basic training for key NIE roles. So looking back at what Anna has already showed you for cluster coordination and information management, this is something that hasn't been done yet for NIE, and looking at what do we think is a minimum. So just thinking through, okay, what is a minimum for different levels of staff. And finally, looking at how to retain people, manager level HR guidance, succession planning, and career paths for teams. These are suggestions. Okay, given our time constraint, I'm going to hand back over to Anna now. Over to you. You're on mute.
Yes, thank you very much. Next slide, please, Ben. So now I will present.
You're on mute again.
Sorry, not sure what's happening. Now I will present the division of the group work, and you can select the group which you want to join. So the first group will be about rollout of the GNC e-learning platform. Remember, I explained that we do now finalizing our platform. So we want to focus and discuss how best to roll it out, ensure that it's available for local NGOs, governments, and so on. Anthony will be facilitating this group. The second group with me would be on the revision of coordination and information management components of the GNC Capacity Development Framework. This framework from 4 steps which I presented you. We see if based on our discussions last week, we need to have some revisions. The third group, facilitated by Megan, will be discussing key technical priority areas. So Andy said that at the annual meeting, we agreed to have key roles for which we would need to focus our capacity development. So basically, this is to discuss what are those key roles at different levels that you will need to build capacity further. The fourth group, facilitated by Colin, is about role of the GNC Technical Alliance in the NIE capacity development. So Andy presented this whole process. So this group will be discussing exactly how to do this process, through what different structures, if our current task force that supported NIE competency framework development is enough, if we need to make some changes and so on. And the last group with Andy would further look at what Andy just presented and further discuss this draft NIE capacity development framework. Ben, if you could open now all the groups, and we can maybe give 18 minutes for the group work, after which you all go back to plenary and we will have about 10-15 minutes to present.
I hope that your discussions, although short, were fruitful. Let us not delay because we don't have very much time. Maybe we have the representative from group 1 to present to discuss, to tell us about what you did. We don't expect any slides, and you have 3 minutes. Who can I ask who that was? Antene, super.
Yeah, thank you so much, Andy. So we had a group discussion with 11 participants. I guess it's well attended. Some of the points which I managed to capture regarding how the GNC e-learning platform can be rolled out in a manner that really contributes to the localization commitment we have. There are a number of recommendations, also observations on the GNC e-learning platform. The group said there is a need for a wider orientation on the GNC e-learning platform for various target groups. First, it should start with the GNC partners, also country coordination teams, not just country coordination teams, but reach to the subnational level as well as national partners, including the government partners. So wider orientation is required. And second to that, and also this is a comment from a colleague who was part of the consultation on the development of the e-learning. Observation is that whenever people access the learning platform, they don't know exactly where to start. Of course, it is structured in such a way that different competency levels learn different modules, but that seemed to be not so clear. So the recommendation is to have some explanatory note or some brief introduction on how to start and how to move to the next level of competency. That's one recommendation. And also in relation to that also, I think the coordination colleagues, especially coordination team at the country level, need to have some note on the GNC e-learning platform, explaining how the intent is, what is meant to be achieved, who the targets are, and how they can access that learning and how they can progress. So that kind of explanatory note would be useful. And another recommendation is there should be a mechanism of assessing the impact or evaluating what improvement is achieved as a result of this e-learning platform, so that we know that it has contributed to the improvement on both technical and coordination fronts. And also similar to this recommendation is also we need to have a tracking system to know which country, who participated, and which partner, and so on. I have 1 minute. The last 2 points. Less than?
You're finished your time. Do you have any last?
Okay, I will put my points on the chat box on behalf of the group.
Super. Thank you so much, Anthony. Sorry to have to cut you off.
Sorry. Thanks.
Oh, that was great. Thank you for that. Now over to you, Anna, for the second group, revision of the coordination and IM components of the framework.
Thank you. And it will be less than 3 minutes, so I will take 30 seconds to say that to the first group that everything is well noted and we are actually working on all of it. It will be coming in the coming few months. Now, in terms of the revision of the coordination and IM component of the capacity development framework, there were no any substantial changes to what we were already proposing. So for now, we will be keeping the framework the way we developed. There were few observations, for example, that it needs to be much stronger linked to the human resources, career paths, and career development for people who are learning through this platform. It needs to be sustainable, and we need to make sure that we are taking into account all the turnover of coordination staff in the countries and make sure that we are building and developing capacities well before, during, and after their roles over.
Super, Anna, that was super fast. And in fact, you could have donated some seconds to Antenne. But anyhow, okay. Wonderful. On to the next one, the key technical priority areas. Megan, are you there? And would you like to present for your group?
Actually, Yara is going to present for our group this morning. Over to you, Yara.
Hi everyone. I've written some of the points on a slide, but maybe I'll just speak. It might be easier. Okay, so we spoke about the key technical priority areas, and we discussed that preparedness and response is key when it comes to assessment. We spoke about also the lack of linkages between program design and nutrition information, and that needs to be strengthened. We spoke about the need for early identification of wasting and the fact that we're observing a lot of new innovative approaches and that we need to maybe review or do a stock taking exercise. And also we need some clarity on those different approaches and consolidate the learning on the simplified approaches. We also spoke about the need for capacity building on preparedness and the need for sustainable funding for the technical priority areas, and also the need to build the capacity on other sectors and also on RICFE and CMAM. And I might have missed a few very important points. Please, Megan or other colleagues that were with us, do say if there's something that I missed. Thank you.
Thank you, Yara. And since you were so quick, does your group have anything else that you wanted to pipe in with very briefly? Okay, I take silence as a no. Great, wonderful. Okay, so over to you, Colleen, or whoever will represent group number 4 on the role of the GNC Technical Alliance and NIE Capacity Development.
Yeah, hi everybody. I will share the feedback on behalf of our group. So we talked about at the global level that maintaining the current capacity development working group that was formed to develop the NIE competency framework would be helpful. And that group should interface with the existing GTWGs within the Alliance to get feedback on various outputs that they come out with. That group would be tasked with coming up with the tool to capacity map for the NIE competencies at the country level. So the Alliance should come up with that tool, and there should be a help desk or a point person that would be available to support countries that are going through the NIE mapping process to answer questions or to guide them through it. The guidance should include what to do, and then how to analyze the information, how to interpret it, and how to come up with your capacity development plan. Was also mentioned that the GNC Alliance should monitor the implementation of the NIE competency development framework and keep track of where countries are at, and so that we can prioritize where technical support is provided. It was also mentioned that a toolkit, an NIE toolkit, is needed to that covers all of the technical competencies that are in the current competency framework. This would be the go-to technical place for country clusters if they're looking for advice on those various technical areas. We talked about how that the competency development mapping for NIE would be led at the country level, would be led by the clusters, but it needs to go. And one of our group members was speaking about a previous experience where this was done, and her feedback was it needs to go beyond the national level down to subnational and to the sub-working groups as well. And that was something that hadn't been done previously, and so it is a lesson learned. I think that's it.
Super, Colleen. That's great. Well within your time as well, and good feedback. So I have the last section, which is on the discussions on the draft NIE Capacity Development Framework. And I will also keep this short. Hang on, but I still need to put on my own timer. So just give me 1 second. Okay, so basically looking at the slide that we showed during the presentation, we worked from there, and the group felt that we need to ensure cohesiveness of the various components, and that the approach really needs to come out, and where we feel that it really needs to be an approach that puts local actors at the center. The people that we're really looking to develop the capacity of should be involved in the process from the beginning, so that they're able to really develop they are one of the key stakeholders in developing how it will unfold and be from the beginning of the process, so that they have clear input into how it will turn out, as it is really for them. Hola. Un segundo. And that was really it. And okay, there we go. Just 1 second. Maybe Anna, can you take over for just 1 second?
Yes, sure. I'd be happy to take over, but I have no idea what this group was discussing. So is there anybody from the group number 5 who would like to finish the feedback, please? Anyone? Oh, Liz, please go ahead.
Thank you very much. Some of the things that we discussed, one, we discussed the importance of investing in a national organization in terms of capacity building. Another thing we talked about, investing in knowledge management to be able to retain the talent. And thirdly, we also talked about employing the right skills. Those are some of the things that we discussed in our group. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you, and apologies for that. Okay, looking at the time, we're actually out of time, and we've already gone over by 2 minutes. So it is time for us to wrap up. We've already done the plenary feedback based on those. So at this moment, I really just, to wrap up, we will have, with all the input that has been provided during the breakout rooms, that will be used to update the GNC framework, develop the plans for the GNC Technical Alliance, and all of this will feed into the GNC strategy. So we wanted to thank you, but before we all go, and we've had a really good turnout today, but before we go, if we could actually go ahead and launch the evaluation for today's session, as we did the other days during the Alliance annual meeting, the GNC annual meeting, we posted a poll. Ben, over to you to launch that poll, please, so everyone can take 1 minute to do that before we all go off to another session. Ben, are you there?
Hello.
Hey, can you launch the poll, please?
Yes, we don't see the poll. At least I don't. Oh, now we
There
do.
it is.
Should do
Wonderful.
now.
Super. Okay.
Andy, can you see the results?
Yes, I can see the results, and I'll wait until we've had a decent number come in, and then I will give a quick summary of them. Hopefully we can get up to 100% voted. Right now we're on 60%. Let's give you another few seconds. We're at 62. Can we get a few more people in the next, say, 15 seconds? Okay, we're at 65. Can we get to 70% before 5 seconds is up? Great, I think we're going to stop it now. We have 72%. So we have now, I'm going to share the results so you can see them. What is your overall assessment of this satellite event? We had the majority rating at number 4 with 47%. Which topics or aspects did we find the most useful? The group work with 59%. And then have you learned useful information that will apply in your work? 84% said yes. Wonderful, great. Thank you so much for everyone's attendance today, and looking forward to seeing you in some of the other events that are coming up over the course of the week. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks, Anna and Andy.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.